Hi and welcome. My name is Tita and I am a knitter, a knitwear designer, and the owner of the yarn shop Yarn for All LLC on Etsy.com. And this is my weekly knitting podcast where I like to share my thoughts about how to sort of make your knitwear a little bit more modern. So I talk a lot about yarns, their textures, their colors, and also knitting patterns. And I also like to share my test knit calls here and on my Instagram page, and also my design releases. Every episode has a specific topic, and today's topic gonna be this Veronica sweater, because today is the sort of release date of my very first sweater pattern design. And I decided to use my channel to sort of talk a lot about how is this sweater made, what I was thinking when I made it, the yarns that I used to make it, so you can better decide that this is a sweater, whether or not this is a sweater that you would like to make for yourself. And at the very end, I will show you my progress on the honey cardigan that I'm knitting for my sister's birthday. I will have this video basically in two parts. I kind of like to have them in one part, but right now I will have to interrupt because I will show you two versions of this sweater using two different yarns. I think the two versions look quite different, so I wanted to give you both views. Currently, I'm wearing the Veronica sweater made out of a Fielder's Feel Passion yarn. I'm showing you here the glacier color, but I used the lavender color to make the sweater. And the sweater was specifically designed for this yarn. When I saw this yarn, I kind of fell in love with it. It is currently my favorite yarn from my yarn shop, from all the yarns that I have. And it is made of 34% acrylic, 32% mohair, 25% wool, 4% viscose, 3% polyester, and 2% polyamide. And it comes in 50 gram sort of these donut balls, and it is about 94 meters or 103 yards. And the reason I love the yarn was basically, I talk about this in other videos, but just the texture of it was amazing. You can see how the mohair is creating this beautiful sort of halo in this sunlight. It's absolutely beautiful. And then as you can see, there is a main yarn. In this case, this is blue. And there is this very thin black thread sort of wrapped around the blue. And then here and there are these pops of colors, pink. Sorry, I'm not looking at the camera because I want to see if I can show the picture right. And the blue in this case. So the yarn was just absolutely gorgeous. And I wanted to design something with it as soon as I saw it. And I picked the purple color, although blue is my favorite color. I picked the purple because somehow I just loved this purple color. The purple one is basically a same deal. It's like light purple with black thread wrapped around it, and you can see a blue and a lighter and darker blue, pink and darker pink speckles here and there, as you can see, or darker purple. And it's dispersed absolutely randomly throughout the yarn. But once you knit it up, it gives you a really cool sort of pop of color here and there. And as you can see, the mohair around my sweater, and it has like a little bit of a sort of halo to it, which I really love. I decided to first talk about how I designed the sweater and why, so you have a better idea of how is the sweater made or whether or not the sweater is for you. And then after that, I will give you a little bit more idea about how much of this Feel Passion yarn I used for this sweater, and the sizes available, and so on. But first, I'm gonna talk about the sweater itself. And based on the feedback from my test knitters, I heard that the most difficult part for them was attaching this color. And I will pop up a closer picture of how the color looks in the end. But the color is attached in a very specific way. So I am asking you to knit the color to the desired length. Then knit about 2-3 more rows with a very different color, just so we can see where the last stitch of this purple or your main color yarn is. After that, you have to put those stitches on a separate sort of string, tie it together, and then with that piece you have to attach it to the sweater body stitch by stitch using the back stitch method. I will put up a better video than what I did, because I heard from my test knitters that that was not the best video and it was really difficult to actually understand what to do. So I'm gonna put up a better one. But since this was the hardest part, in my knitting pattern, I actually make a note and say alternatively, you can use a different method to make this color. You can simply pick up stitches, I'll tell you how many, and knit the color to the desired length, and then just use your preferred method to bind off the stitches. So you could do that. But as I said, I'm gonna pop up a big picture just so you see how would it look if you followed my method. I really love the way this is done. It's a very different kind of look than if you would have actually picked up your stitches. And you can actually decide whether or not you want to try this method. It actually takes a while. Took me a while to attach this color properly. So it is labor intensive and a little bit annoying until you figure out or you get a hang of it how it's supposed to be done. So alternatively, you have the option of picking up your stitches and actually knit the coloring around, and as I said, bind off with your preferred method. So that's about the color, which was probably the hardest part. And as you see, this is a mock neck t-shirt. I love mock necks, but some people might be bothered by it. You can of course shorten the neck should you want it to. I show you this folded back, so you could make it smaller. I felt like this would give me a very different look, and I like turtlenecks and larger necks or funnel necks. So this is the way I like to wear it. But again, if you knit the color, you can actually knit it to the desired length and the desired style that you prefer. So that is actually easily, that part can be easily changed. I would like to also say that the sweater is actually knitted flat and the parts are seamed together. And I know many of you are thinking that you don't want to seam a garment and it's not worth it, and you all used to knit stuck knitting around. This is actually used using seat stitch, so it's not stuck knitting around anyways. But I'm gonna try to let you know why I designed the sweater the way I designed it, and I have to say it wasn't that difficult to make it. I like to design sweaters bottom up, which is this design is a bottom-up design and in pieces that I seam together in the end. And the reason for that is I right now feel that designing a sweater sort of bottom up, I don't know, I like the way I can shape the shoulders for it, particularly and the neckline. And I like to make my sort of garment in pieces because I sort of actually have a preference for this very hardly visible seamed line. It sort of gives the sweater a better shape, so to speak. And also when you design them bottom up, there are a lot of options to shape the waistline and the parts that I like the look of. And I really love how the sweater turned out. So right now I'm gonna try to quietly stand up so you can see the whole piece. But as I said, I have 2 videos about styling this sweater. Here right now I'm just wearing it with my jogger. And as you see, it's a puff sleeve, sort of a cropped-ish sweater with a mock neck design. Sort of, well, the sleeves are a tiny bit longer. You can wear them a little bit longer, as you see, but I like to wear them up a little bit. That gives a little bit more puff to the bottom part and the top part of the sleeve as well. But of course you can wear it longer, but you see it kind of flattens out. So the longer you make the sleeve, the puffier these areas can get. And you can of course add length to the sleeve, either at this part or at this part. I don't suggest adding length here, but you can add length in the lower arm or add length and depth to the upper arm to make the sleeves puffier, because as you can see, if you flatten it, it's a little bit too straight, and if the sleeve is like pushed back, then it gives you this nice sort of puffiness to it. And it has 1x1 rib on the sleeve and also at the back and the front. The neck is also made, collar is also made with 1x1 rib. And the most interesting part, other than these sort of pleats in here, is the keyhole opening I designed for the front. And if you want to see the sweater and the ways you can style it, you can actually tuck this in. My jogger doesn't really look good with the sweater tucked in, so I'm not showing you that. But in my design videos, or actually styling videos, you can see this styled in like 4 or 5 different ways, and the other yellow version also like 4 or 5 different ways. So I'm just gonna link those at the end of this video, so you can just go ahead and see how you can wear these sweaters in a million different ways, other than jeans or joggers that I'm wearing right now. And I would like to just say a couple of words about the sleeve. So as you see, the sleeve isn't fitted. It's kind of like looser and with plenty room in here, and a little bit larger. So the sleeve ending, a sleeve cap, is larger than the armhole here. And with the extra material, you create these pleats. I have 2 in the front and 2 in the back. When you make yours, you can decide how you sort of place these pleats. I prefer 2 and 2 and starting from the top down, but that actually gives you sort of your own design freedom, which is kind of, I think, nice. It's basically ending right at my shoulder, so that was my goal with all the sizes. It's not a drop shoulder, it's like a fitted sleeve, and the shoulder has a sort of nice sort of triangle shape. So it is actually not straight up, but kind of follows the drop of your shoulder. And as I said, it has a seat stitch and 1x1 ribbing, and right around your elbow. So my elbow is here, and this part is designed to be a little bit above my elbow, but if I decide to push this down, then this falls. See, this is my elbow, and this is where the ribbing starts. So it's a tiny bit above my elbow. I didn't want the ribbing to be on my elbow. I wanted sort of my elbow to be moving freely. So basically the ribbing is designed to be right above your elbow. If you prefer the ribbing to be on your elbow, it is about, I think I designed it to be 6 centimeters, and I found that it was kind of slipping at that length when I was bending my elbow, so it wasn't very comfortable, at least for me. However, should you want to have this part lower, you can of course place it lower in my design. But as I said in my original, actually when my very first version of this, that part was a little bit lower, and it was sort of feeling disproportionate and actually uncomfortable. So that's why it's placed right above. Here, see, here's my elbow, and as I'm sitting, this sits above my elbow. When I am kind of walking, this actually is a little bit lower, but as you can see, it is designed to be above your elbow. I don't remember exactly if it's halfway through the sweater, the sleeve, or not, but yeah, so you can actually see the measurements when you buy the pattern and see if you like the placement of this little part. Should you want to have it in a different spot, because let's say your upper arm is shorter than mine or longer than mine or whatnot, and you want to have the same sort of design exactly fit you the same way as it fits me, then just measure where would this fall, and decide to perhaps knit this a little bit longer or a little bit shorter. And then if you knit this shorter, then knit this part longer, and vice versa, just to have actually the same length as I have. Of course, you can have your own length. As I said, if you add a length to it, then you will get more of this puff, because the cuff is pretty tight, so you can actually put it anywhere. But if you do that, then you will have this extra material creating this really cool puff. So the longer the sleeve, the puffier these areas can get. I think my sleeves go for like 61 to like 65 centimeters depending on your height. But as I said, if you need longer ones, or you need the placement of this sort of part lower or higher, you can adjust to that very easily in the pattern, and then after that just follow the pattern and make sure that this becomes longer, so you actually have a longer sleeve length, or shorter, whatever you need. So that part is easily adjustable. Also, you don't have to worry much about your sleeve cap fitting into the armhole if you don't exactly meet my row gauge. So normally when you have a sweater where you have a bottom up design and you have to fit your sleeve later on into the sleeve cap here, into the armhole here, because you need your sleeve from a bottom up as well. You don't pick up stitches for your sleeve. The problem is if your row gauge is off, the way I wrote the pattern, in that case, it could have happened that the sleeve won't fit. However, in this case, the sleeve cap is actually designed to be larger than the armhole, because if it's the same size, then you cannot create these pleats. So it obviously is larger, so you don't have to worry too much about meeting my row gauge in my pattern. The stitch gauge, yes. If you don't meet stitch gauge, obviously, then your garment gonna be smaller or bigger depending on your gauge. But in this case, this is sort of a easier first piece to knit if you have never knitted a garment flat and you worry about sort of being able to match the pieces perfectly together. This might be an excellent choice, because your sleeve doesn't actually have to perfectly match lengthwise and all to the armhole opening, because it is actually designed to be bigger. So you can make it a tiny bit smaller and not gonna matter, tiny bit bigger or a lot bigger, actually not gonna matter. You're just gonna have either larger or smaller pleats. So in that case, or in that sort of aspect, this is actually not a difficult beginner flat piece to start with if you have been always knitting in around. It has very simple decreases and increases here. Decreases here and increases in places such as the sleeve. I think it's very straightforward, and as I said, it uses 1x1 rib and the seat stitch design, so that is relatively simple as well. What is difficult, as I said, is adding the neck band or the collar, but optionally you can pick up stitches for that. So I don't think it is extremely difficult either. If you have not knitted a piece flat yet, then the instructions might be a little bit difficult. I tried to edit my instructions based on the feedback from my test knitters, who also sort of knitted more in rounds than flat. So I tried to make clear what needs to be done. However, if you don't find that clear enough, there are very simple, easy videos up on YouTube everywhere about how to do decreases when you're knitting flat, and how to do your increases when you're knitting flat. I didn't want to add another video explaining the very same thing that someone else explained even way better than I did. So if you worry about that, there are plenty of videos available online, and also about how to seam your garment together once you are done. Again, since this is knitted in seed stitch, the seaming is also relatively, I feel, very easy. And I don't say it's invisible because I actually like that there is a cut. And as I said, I like this sort of edge that a seamed garment creates. So I'm not saying it's invisible, but it is visible in a way that it doesn't stick out. It's just like a sewn garment, basically. And as of now, even my second and third design that is about to come out, they are all knitted bottom up and flat, simply because I like the freedom that it actually, this design gives me. So I'm gonna stand up again, but it allows me to create the shaping in a way that I like it the best, particularly shaping here and also shaping it here and here. It gives you a different kind of freedom. You see, this is where I actually seamed my garment together. Sort of allows you different ways to shape. And I feel as of now that I can create a really perfectly fitted garment. And this is not perfectly fitted, it's designed with some positive ease. Some of my test knitters made it with zero positive ease, basically, or maybe just like a centimeter. Mine has a few centimeters of positive ease, as you can tell, but it looks good even with no positive ease at the bust size. So I actually like, sorry, to go back to my point, I like to knit in pieces and I like to seam them together because I don't know, I just love the shape that it gives me and the designer freedom about shaping options, and I don't know. And I like the edge that is created by seaming, so I don't feel like I'm wearing like a sack, like a one-piece thing. I kind of like that there is a border, this is the front, this is the back, and seaming it gives you sort of, I don't know, it's very hard to say or show you, but it gives you like a definite edge as opposed to having everything in like one piece. Because if you think about your sewn tops, like they are not sewn in one piece, it's not like one, but you have sewn edges, and that gives you a shape or like a definite ending and definite beginning, which I really, really like. And the most interesting part of my design is the keyhole opening at the back. I would say, at least. I love the sleeves, but there are many puffy sleeve designs out there, many mock necks, but I like the combination that I created with this opening, which you can make smaller, of course, but don't make it too small because I don't think it shows then what it's supposed to. But I wanted a chunky sweater from this yarn, but something with a little bit of an extra, something modern with the friction, and I found it that this is fairly elegant and delicate, and then I made this cut and I felt like that is perfect. That is just something different. You wouldn't expect a opening like that in a chunky sweater. And I like the unexpected, and it actually, I think it's rather flattering. So I really like the final shape, and as I said, you can wear it tucked in, you can wear it more puffy. It actually will stay up because the cuffs are tight, so if you want to pull it up, it's gonna stay up. If you want to make more puff, then you just add extra length before binding off for the decreasing and binding off for the sleeve. Don't add, add length before the decrease begins. And here, if you want to add length to this, add length anywhere before you start the sort of this area. That way it is fine. If the one that I created doesn't fit you, just for whatever reason, as I said, add length here and add length here before the decrease. Should you want to add length to the sweater, check out the depth of the armhole. If that fits you well, don't add length there. Obviously, you can add length below the armhole opening. That's what I would suggest it. I actually have a very clear definition and in my description that how long is the sweater from here to here, and then you can figure out how long is it from here to here based on the total length and I give you ideas about a rough idea about the lower arm, the upper arm, and the arm length, as well as the neck sort of line. With the neckline, I just would like to suggest don't bind off your stitches too tightly. That can make the net tighter than I wanted. So when you're binding off your stitches in here for the neckline particularly, not necessarily for the shoulder, but definitely for the neckline, bind them off loosely, fairly loosely. And that way the neckline won't be too tight. But I guess that's the only other suggestion I would give you. And right now I am going to go and change into the different color version of this sweater from a different yarn. And then I'll show you that yarn, and I will talk a little bit about the sizing of the sweater, and then I will show you how am I doing with my sister's honey cardigan for her birthday. I'll be back in about a minute. Okay, so I am back, and I am wearing the second version of the Veronica sweater. This is the version using Feel Love, Feel Love Mohair in the colorway Meal. And here is the yarn in a different colorway. This is, I think, not gonna pronounce this, Fayence colorway. I'm gonna put it up, and it will be linked in my description. Feel Love, Feel Love Mohair is really beautiful, chunky mohair. 70% mohair, 30% wool. And for 50 grams, this will give you about 65 meters or 71 yards. So in general, I think this is should have same category as the Feel Passion yarn. It was very difficult to define the weight of the yarn, but I do believe this is again about 9 reps per inch like Feel Passion, and that put me into chunky weight yarn with both. However, this one has a bit less meters or less yardage, so what I did was I met gauge, same thing, 14 stitches per sort of 10 centimeters, but with this one I used I believe 1 extra ball for a size extra small, which would almost bump up all the sizes by the same amount roughly. But I will have this in my Ravelry page and in the suggestion of my Etsy page as well. This yarn, and so will be the Feel Passion in all the available colors, will be 10% off should you decide to make the sweater the same way as I did it. This will be 10% off of both yarns in all colors until the end of Sunday, and the pattern will be 20% off until Sunday. And as you can see, the Love Mohair, it's hard to see here how the yarn gonna come out, but once in a while you will have like these larger pieces of mohair, and then it's generally just certain thickness, but then you will have like a bump once in a while, like here, like sort of more fuzz, and that will create these, I'm gonna come closer, these bumpier parts here and there, but not a lot of it. And I knit this sweater up the exact same way, same gauge as the other one. The only difference was that basically I bound off the stitches here a little bit looser, so I got a little bit more puff in the sleeve. I just wanted to see what happens there. So my sleeves just got a little bit bulkier and chunkier than my other version, but I did the same thing. I attached this stitch by stitch and knitted the sweater up the exact same way. Sorry for the chair. And as you can see, it's similar. You can wear it down, then it's a little bit less puffy, and you can wear it up, and it's a lot puffier. If you want to see this sweater and the way I actually style it, you can see the styling videos at the end or at the description section where I can put them. But I styled this yellow one and I styled the purple one in multiple ways in my near Christmas / holiday videos. And I show you the ways in which you can wear them multiple ways with more than just jeans, and I show you the tucked in versions and sort of the flat versions like this one. But again, this is the difference between these two yarns, is that this version is a lot warmer. Both have mohair, so people who do not like mohair are not gonna like any of these versions. Then you will have to substitute the yarn with something that gives you the same gauge. As I said, I think I got 14 stitches per 10 centimeters on both. But as you can see, it gives you a little bit different feel. Since this is only one color, it's a tiny bit different than the other one. I like them both, but as I said, Feel Passion is one of my favorite yarns, actually my favorite yarns in my stash right now, stash/store. I like that. It's actually a more fun sweater. This is a bit more laid back sweater. I wear them both a lot though. Now I'm just gonna tell you the specifications because I cannot remember by heart. So I used there are 7 sizes, and it uses 10 to 13 balls of the Feel Passion, depending on which size you are. But as I said, this gives you 94 meters. So I basically used for the smallest size about 893 meters, let's say nearly 900 meters, and the largest size will use 1150, almost 8 meters, which is about from 978.5 yards to 1266 or 67 yards. So I don't necessarily think that this is a lot of yarn. As I said, the sweater is fairly cropped. If you want to make it in the longer version, obviously you will use more yarn. But that's about what I used. And in terms of weight, I used Feel Passion, 475 grams for the size 1, which is the smallest size, which is the size I am wearing right now. If you gauge a little tighter, obviously if you want smaller garment, you just have to have a yarn that gives you a little bit smaller gauge, actually, yeah. You can have a smaller sweater for the same amount of stitches. But I use 475 grams of this, and my largest size, which is a size 7, will use 13 balls, which is about 900, about 970 meters. So I don't necessarily think this uses a lot of yarn, but yeah, I don't know. But as I said, just in case if you like the yarn and you would like to use these original yarns, they are for sale, 10% off on my Etsy site for until end of Sunday. So you can make up your mind, and I pop up some colors here for this one as well. They both come in about 4 or 5 colors, so there are not many color choices, but I think the Love Mohair comes in a lot of like beautiful muted colors, like these. I think it's beautiful, and the Feel Passion comes in obviously a little bit brighter, more popping colors. And what else? I wanted to talk about a little bit about the sizes. So the finished bust circumference goes from 100 centimeters to I think 146 centimeters, which is about 39 inches to 57.5 inches. And originally I designed this with a little bit of positive ease, which is the way I like to wear it. But some of my test knitters made it with basically 1 centimeter to 0 positive ease, and it still looked really good, but I designed it with a little bit of a positive ease. At least that's the way I like it. If it had no positive ease, it would still look pretty nice, and it would still have a little bit room on the bottom, so I think it looks good either way, but I like it with some positive ease. And the sleeves go from 61 to 67 centimeters between the 7 sizes. and the underarm to hem length goes from 32 centimeters or 12.6 inches to 35 centimeters, 13.8 inches. And as I said, that might be the place where you want to make some changes if you want a longer length below the armhole. Then just start the increase before start the make a longer length just before you start your decrease. And you also have to decide whether or not you're comfortable with a deep opening like this. You will see in the design where you have to divide for the opening. And I would suggest to see the centimeter, how high are you at that point of the sweater, and check the total length for your size and see whether or not the total length is sort of measured from here. Sort of that would give you whatever centimeters left between the total length and the bottom, that is your opening right here basically. So you gotta have to check whether or not you're comfortable with the deep opening like this. As I said, I do like it. I designed it on purpose, this deep. Something too small, it just doesn't actually show. So it has to be somewhat lower for the opening to actually open up and happen. Otherwise, as you see, it's too tight and it actually beats the purpose, like you can't actually even see it. But you have to decide how deep the opening should be so you are still comfortable with the sweater. And as I said, I think those are the most important measurements, but everything is on Ravelry and on Etsy for you to check out. But as I said, the pattern is 20% off until end of Sunday, and the yarns are 10% off until the end of Sunday. Hopefully next week I will show you my new design, and I will put out a test knit call. And I'm hoping to have free yarn for some of my test knitters. The very specific yarns, the creme castle wool that I used for that yarn, for that sweater. So I'm making arrangements for that. So please look out for my test knit call. And especially if you like the yarn and you never tried it, then that might be a great opportunity. So next week I will show you and give you the instructions of how to sign up for my test knits, and then I will pick my test knitters, and some of them will get a free yarn, I promise. And the last thing I would like to show you today is how am I doing with my sister's birthday sweater. For those of you who haven't seen it, I am knitting my sister for her birthday the honey cardigan by Kutubakika, which is from her book Knit This. I'm using Drops Melody in colorway 22, which is this beautiful purple that I had on stash. Okay, now it comes out to shiny. It's a little bit darker than that actually. Yeah, now the color is closer to real. Yeah. I'm using that color, and last week my camera decided not to cooperate when I wanted to show you how far I got. Last week what I had was exactly the finished back of the sweater. The sweater is knitted in panels and sewn together, which, as you heard me say before, I heavily prefer as of now. Maybe next year I'm gonna just knit everything in around, but right now I'm knitting in panels and I see my garments together. This Kutubakika design is knitted with 5.5 millimeter knitting needles, using half fisherman's rib stitch, half fisherman stitch. Very simple design, and this is the back panel for the neck. My sister prefers this, which is called the wrong side of the fabric. I'm never gonna understand why. This is the right side. I don't like the way the right side looks. I like much rather the wrong side, so that's gonna be the right side for her. And when I'm looking at the pictures, it does look like she is wearing this as well. This side, you know, the side where you knit into the stitch below. I would swear she's wearing that in the front, but I don't know. I don't understand why is it called then the wrong side of the knit. If you can tell me, comment in the comment section, because that beats me. So I finished this last week, but I couldn't show you because of my camera was messing with me. And this week I finished the left and the right front panels, which this would be this way, but since I'm using backwards, then the right is the left and the left is the right. And I finished both panels. Very straightforward. It's no shaping actually. at all. So until you get to the neckline, and that's basically the only shaping you do also at the back panel. So it's very straightforward knitting, really simple. I met gauge after blocking my swatch. I was afraid that this design, just by nature, you see like how squishy it is. I was afraid that it's gonna be sort of growing too much. So I actually blocked my swatch and saw if I can meet gauge, and I met gauge after blocking. So kind of I know how tight I have to knit. I'm a tight knitter anyways, so yeah, I wasn't that worried that I'm not gonna meet gauge. And it's gonna be too big. The only modification I did, that my sister wanted a size in between two sizes, so I added 4 extra stitches, and I only had to basically pay attention that I will have that many more stitches, either for the neckline if I wanna sort of decrease there more, or keep it for the shoulder line. And I decided to keep it for the shoulders because I checked the sizes. She's actually between size 1 and 2, and you actually have to decrease the same amount of stitches for the neckline for size 1 and 2. So then the size in between would require you to decrease obviously the same amount of stitches as well. So then the extra stitches must stay for the shoulder between size 1, from size 1 and 2. So that's why my extra stitches are actually also are here on the shoulders, and same thing on the back. The neckline for size 1 and 2 are requiring you to decrease the same amount of stitches, so that's why the extra stitches are actually then reserved for the shoulders. So that's the only thing I actually knitted, other than my sort of finished my I blocked my sweater for the test knit call, and I was hoping that I can show you today, but I'm actually adding 2 kinds of things to it. So a long story short, it's gonna be shown next week, but I've been working on that. And one of my sort of short sleeve sweaters for the upcoming spring and fall, I don't think that will be done next week, but the week after that I think so. And that uses Crème Castle wool boucle in color white that I showed you for a cool spring yarn. You can look at it there. And I really love the way the piece is turning out. It's a really light garment, and I'm very happy with it. So I guess this is it for today. If you like my podcast, then consider subscribing, or consider following me on Instagram, where I also make test knit calls, and sort of you can be notified about my sales and whatnot. But as I said, the Veronica Sweater pattern is up for sale for until Sunday, 20% off, and the 2 yarns that I use personally, only these 2 from my shop, these 2 kinds from my shop at 10% off until the end of Sunday. Thank you, and I will see you next week.